Good day. I trust you're doing very well today, and I especially welcome you to my YouTube channel. And today I'll be talking about the God factor and 5 things the God factor does not reduce. As students on campus, our academic excellence is one of the primary act of worship we render to God when we come to school. I know somebody was expecting to hear your academic excellence is the primary reason why you came to school. No, your academic excellence is one of the act of worship you render to God on your coming to campus. And today I'm going to be sharing with us 5 things that the God factor does not reduce when it comes to your academic excellence and your academic pursuit as a Christian on campus. Now let me start by explaining a little bit on what we mean by the God factor. When we talk about the God factor, we're talking about primarily totally relying on God. Total reliance on God. And also, most times, the book of Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 is usually an anchor scripture most times. And it goes thus. It said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. Another scripture that also buttresses this point on the God factor is the book of Proverbs chapter 29 verse 25, and it goes thus. It said, fear for man will prove to be a snare, but whosoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Another scripture that also talks about the God factor is Isaiah chapter 26 verse 4, and it goes thus. It said, trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is the rock eternal. The last scripture I'll read is Isaiah 31 verse 1, and it goes thus. Say, woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in the multitude of their chariots and in the great strength of their horsemen, but do not look to the Holy One of Israel or seek help from the Lord. So with all these scriptures, it is clear that the God factor is critical when it comes to academic pursuit on campus, because the God factor is an expression of the fact that we totally rely on God. One, it's an indication of our total dependence. Okay, said that before. Two, it's an indication of our humility, just like the scripture that says, humble yourself before the Lord and he will lift you up. Next, it's an indication of our trust in God, just like where we read in the book of Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5. Also, it's an indication of true wisdom, because only a fool says in his heart, there is no God. So the God factor is very important when it comes to academic pursuit, and we must always remember this. It is very, very important, because no matter how far or how high we want to fly when it comes to academic pursuit and fulfillness, it's always very important we don't lose track of the God factor. But I'm going to share also with us 5 things that the God factor will not reduce. Very important. 5 things that the God factor will not reduce. Number 1, the God factor does not reduce the time factor. Now, the God factor does not reduce the time factor. What do I mean by this? Yes, the Lord is with you in your academic pursuit, but you must also give in the requisite time to your academics. You must give in the requisite time. You must give in the needed amount of time to your academics. The first question I want to ask us is this: how much time do you allocate to your studies per day? How much priority do you place on attending classes and making notes? Indeed, a man's heart will be where his treasure is, and a man will only give his time to something that he values. So, the measure of academic commitment is only seen by the amount of time you commit to your academics. It's as simple as that. And understanding of this fact will help you plot your life properly. Now, This will also help you understand or know what you must commit your time to, priorities, the kind of friends you keep, the kind of things you do that you derive pleasure from. Because the truth is this: the amount of time you spend doing the wrong thing, you will also spend sometimes or most times that same amount of time in trying to undo the addictions you might have gotten yourself into. So the truth is this: I call it the paradox of time wasting. You will spend as much time on doing the wrong things you've spent your time doing. It also takes time to undo the wrong things you've imbibed through your wrong use of time before the growth curve even starts tilting upward. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of times we spend our time doing the wrong things and we end up becoming seemingly addicted, let me use that word, to those things. Now this is the problem. You also spend sometimes more time in trying to undo those things you've given yourself to before you even start making any academic progress. So I'll ask you this question once more. How do you spend your time? Because the truth is this: the God factor will not reduce the time factor. Yes, God is with you, but if you don't appropriate the required time to your studies, to attending lectures, to making notes, if you don't reduce the amount of time you spend on distractions, on gisting with friends, and on some certain things that might even end up getting you addicted and making you waste more time, you might end up not being the best that God has created you to be. As a way of buttressing on the God factor will not reduce the time factor. I remember my final year in school then. At one point, I felt I was too busy doing a lot of things, until it was time for exam. So I was banking on the fact that I could sit down on a spot and read for long with minimal sleep, minimal rest. So I didn't commit to meeting up on my daily time schedules as it concerns my study. There's a way I plotted my time of studies. Once I come back from school, I read my notes and I make notes before I begin to do any other thing. No matter how tired I am, no matter how worked out I am, I make sure I visit those notes on the same day those things were taught to me. So I continued doing this for a while until I felt that it was too simple. So I abandoned it. And my time schedules for doing those things, I turned my back on them. Now this is what happened. When it was time for exam, just like Samson said, I'll shake myself and I'll stand up and do as usual. I discovered that I had so much to read and I had very little time. So this is something I will have done over time. I had to sit down. And when I say what I want to say now, some people say, oh, Jacobian. It's not about being Jacobian. I sat down for 12 hours stretch. I was on a table with my reading lamp. And intermittently, NEPA gets to bring their lights. I use the lights, charge my chargeable, go back. For 12 hours, I was on a spot. And I had to do this thing for 4 days on a stretch. By the 4th day, it was already taking a toll on me because I don't get to sleep much. And from that table, I'm going to write exams. From the exam hall, I'm coming back. I will crash sleep. I'll call it crash sleep for 2 to 3 hours. I'm back on the table reading from that evening till the next morning, if it's a morning paper. And sometimes I'm on that table till noon. I go to the exam hall, write the exam, come back again, take another 2 to 3 hours crash, get something to eat, cumulative 4 hours spent, back to the table, and brethren, it was not making the sense and it was not the best. But if I had fully understood that yes, God can give me the grace to do such kind of stretch, but He has also given me the mind to plan my time appropriately. I will have not had any reason to stretch myself the way I did. For some of us, you are waiting till it's time to stretch so that you now start bragging with, oh, I read for 8 hours on the stretch. It's good, but it's better when you can plan your life, plan yourself, and plan your time. Because the truth, once more, is this: the God factor will not reduce your commitment to the time factor. Use your time correctly. Use your time correctly.